Namaskar viewers. Welcome to another episode of Infinite Possibilities with Pradeep Gupta, brought to you by Mana TV International. Friends, in our last episode, we talked about future. What do we mean by it? That it's not real, but just a perception, a shared one that is. That we all live in a default future or one that has been predicted for us by others. So today, we will continue that conversation and learn about how to create a future for ourselves. But before we do that, I want to start off by letting you know that this is a show about perspectives. We are going to offer you another way of looking at things, and I would request you to listen with an open mind, and I promise that infinite possibilities are going to open up for you. Having said that, let me bring in the man of the hour, Victor Manikam. Welcome once again to Infinite Possibilities. We are really excited to have you here with us and continue on our conversation about how to create a future.
Thank you very much, Pradeep, for once again having me. And yeah, I'm also pretty excited to be sharing with you. So I'm going to take off from what you said, Pradeep, that either we are living in a future created by others and that becomes a default future, or we can create our own future. I'm sure the question you'll ask me is, can you tell me in a line, how do I create my future?
Absolutely. You read my mind. That's exactly what I was going to ask you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll tell you that one line about creating future is believe in yourself. If there is one line I want to tell, the way to create future for yourself or to invent a future is to believe in yourself. That's
Let me show you a visual and make sure that our users see this too, just to solidify this in everybody's mind. Did I capture it right, Victor?
created future is equal to believing in yourself. Exactly, Pradeep. That's so beautifully that you put it out there. Now the question is, how do I learn to believe in myself? What does it take to believe in myself? Now that, Pradeep, is the interesting part. It's very easy to say believe in yourself, but really we don't believe in ourselves. It is so difficult for human beings to believe in themselves. They need validation, they need external validation. So to believe in yourself, your first step to believing in yourself is that you understand that there is a past which is having complete control over yourself. Very important. That there is a past which is having control over you.
Just like you said in the last episode, that future is basically all past projections. We are looking at the past through a telescope. That's what our default future is.
Yeah. The telescope with which you look at the future is directed into the past. And from there it's projected. Perfectly put, Pradeep. And I couldn't have put it in better words. Using the telescope of the past into the future. I really like that. Now, what do I mean by that? See, we are clouded by our past. There are resentments in the past. There are things that we hold on to the past. And then that gives us the view of the future. You know, like for something like this, just say, in the past, it comes to me that, the people who are migrants, early migrants or late migrants are a certain way in the country. Now, that somehow then defines my view to all because of some past. Or a very personal past, not of the external, but would be like, my wife is like this only, is because in 10 years ago, this thing happened, and from then on I know she's been like this. And that is like, tomorrow is another day, but my wife is the same one that is 10 years ago, was someone who always misunderstands anything that I say. Or my husband is like that. Or the children say, you know what, anything if I ask my dad, no point, because he's always going to question it, and he's going to refuse, and he's going to give a view. Now that's all the past. But I'm planning for the future, influenced by the past, because the past has a grip on me. But the way to address the past, it's important that you first acknowledge that there is a past which is having a hold on you. It's a grip on you. Now, how do I take the grip of the past so that it allows me to believe in something which is in the self? Right? Is to reflect on how your life is. been, how much of it's been a habit, how much of it has been controlled by the past, how much of it is stuck in time. When you begin to reflect at step one, then the natural thing at step two is to notice that you and I carry so much resentments and grievances in the past that there's a lot of forgiveness that's necessary. There is a lot of forgiveness.
So if you don't mind, I can share this visual with our viewers as we're building these steps. So we talked about step one. This is when you say reflecting, you're talking about like looking inwards, right? Introspection, right? Looking at ourselves.
Perfect, Pradeep. I like the way you're building this whole construct on the PPT. Is that forgiveness after reflecting? It's natural. When you reflect, you get that there is so much that is holding on. I have resentments and grievances about so many things. My situation is like this, my family is like this, my education was like this, this is what happened, my bosses were like this. But the thing is, when forgiveness is not about telling, I forgive the other person, but forgiveness is a construct of you not only forgiving, asking forgiveness and forgiving yourself, but if you don't forgive, the poison begins to eat you. The poison of the past eats you, and that much limited of the self is available for the future. A large part is eaten into the past because of that poison. Now, when you do that, you see that I was having a certain view, but that's not necessary because that view is governed by the past. This is totally different because if I talk like this and I have freedom, they're totally different from my wife. My children are speaking differently. Forget that. Even now when I'm interacting with strangers, my responses are so different because my view of how everybody is has changed because of forgiveness. But again, let me tell you, that doesn't mean that everything can change. That is arrogance. Some people come up and say, I can change everything. No, there's a beautiful line which says, God, give me the power and courage to change what I can and accept what I can't, and the humility to accept what I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Know the difference. Beautiful. Very beautiful, Victor.
Yeah. So the step 3 is to accept and to have an acceptance, accepting your limitations, accepting people for who they are or who they are not, and accepting that this is it. Most of us in our path wanting to go ahead live in a lot of denial. I mean, you and I are always going to have some fears. Acknowledge your fears. In the acknowledgement itself, it dissolves. Acceptance, that is so important. When you are able to reflect, forgive, and accept, you have so much gratitude about everything. It is possible that what you were resenting in the past, you will begin to have gratitude, and suddenly the way the future can occur completely transforms. The future occurred in a certain way in your head, and now it begins to occur distinctly from how it was occurring. Very essential, very, very essential. Only when you and I clear the past, is there any possibility to begin to believe in yourself. Otherwise, you're believing in evidences and externals. You're not creating a belief from within. Because then you're saying, I know the past is messed up, but now this is the evidence. And then you're believing in some evidence and not in yourself. Because the belief the default future is where evidence creates belief. But a created future is where belief can manifest and create evidence.
That's really interesting, Victor. But before you go on, I have some doubts here on these 4 steps. Do you mind if I interrupt you here?
Of course, you can ask me. I don't mind. I don't have a mind, Pradeep. I just have a heart.
No, because this is actually extremely important, these 4 steps about how to clear the past. So I just want to make sure that all of us really understand what you are trying to tell us here. Reflecting is, I understand, is basically looking inwards and looking at ourselves, our own strengths, our own weaknesses, our past experiences, successes, failures, and at least acknowledging and identifying those. Is that right?
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, so then we
Perfect.
go to forgiving. And forgiving could be based on any past events, experiences, interactions with our colleagues, our friends, our neighbors, family. It could be anybody. Now, when you talk about forgiving, how do we forgive? What is the right way to forgive? Because some of them we may not even be in contact with anymore. We don't even know where they are. It could be I had some issues with my father, and if my father is not there anymore, how do I forgive him? Can you give me some idea of what forgiving entails?
See, we want to know that the resentment is also experiential and therefore the freedom is also experiential. The moment you realize it, you can kind of share it with someone close to you and say, you know what, this is what it was, and this is what I held against my father. But I can now see that I can actually be grateful, and I held this, and that clouded my view. Now, that is something you can share with somebody. Now, let us say it's too personal and you can't share it with somebody also sometimes. It kind of helps if you can just write it down on a piece of paper, write it down in a book, and read it back to yourself. You keep reading it back to yourself the first time, second time, multiple iterations, and after you read it multiple times, you just see that it is an imagined construct in which you and I were dwelling. And as you read multiple times, the whole thing falls apart. And there is nothing left there. There is just nothing left there. You could do
I
that.
see.
Yeah.
That's
Unto
beautiful. So
each unto his own, Pradeep.
yeah, so basically, what I'm getting is that forgiveness is for us, not for the other person. We are
Oh,
just trying to clear
never.
our. Is that right?
Perfect, Pradeep. I mean, it's got nothing about the other person.
It has nothing to
Because,
do with the other person. Okay, they were part of our experience that caused us resentment or grief or anger or whatever the experience may be. But the forgiveness is only for us.
it is important for you is because many times the other person does not even know that you are having this resentment.
That's true. That
The
is
other
true.
person is probably oblivious to the fact that you are holding this on. So the other person may be surprised and say, "Oh, it was like this. I'm sorry. I didn't know that this had impacted you for 20 years or 5 years or 20 months. I don't know," he says. But okay, if it is was there, let's forget it. I'm sorry. Uh, Most often it is like that. So the poison is inside us. The other person is not even aware you and I are carrying the poison.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That is beautiful. Great. Thank you for clarifying that. And now my next question is actually, and I have too many questions, so please forgive me. But my next question is about accepting. So,
Yeah.
so when we say accepting, does it mean that people can just do whatever and we'll just not push back or we'll just accept?
I
What
think you're
like where do
asking
we draw the
this.
line?
Yeah, I think you're asking this question because there is probably a collapse between what is tolerating and accepting.
I guess
Tolerating,
that's where I'm coming from. Yeah,
tolerating is a very defensive way of looking at what is. It is like, I know you're wrong, I know this is nonsense, but I'll tolerate this nonsense because I have no choice. Whether I'm probably married to you or this is what it is, I've already shifted to this location, I'll tolerate. Now, tolerating takes away your self expression, builds resentments, and then finally clouds your view. But an accepting comes not from a defensive place, but accepting comes from a place of love and compassion. There is, like, you know why this person is in such a poor thing. Like, if my wife is nagging and I begin to accept, because I accept that she's not nagging because she loves to nag. I don't think she also loves to nag. But it is just that I don't listen to her. Or probably I'm reflecting and looking at it and saying, she's always been ignored and only she gets attention is when she nags. And then I get and say, yeah, I don't have to, maybe let me give attention to what she's saying. And I begin to accept that she's not nice. Begin to accept her nagging like she's got something to talk to me. But if there is love, the nagging itself dissolves. And what happens is there is communication, and then there is a conversation, and then there is something that can get created. Because you're not saying, I know she's like that only, but I've now accepted. That is not accepted, that is tolerated, which makes you resigned and cynical. But acceptance creates possibilities into the future. That
Wow.
is distinct. We could go on and on this, but I would
No,
say like this.
I think that's beautiful how you distinguished acceptance from tolerance. And I think that was the question I had in my mind, because a lot of us confuse accepting with tolerating. But I think the distinction that you gave us is acceptance comes with compassion. That I think makes an understanding that makes a lot of sense. And of course, I totally understand gratitude. So these are beautiful steps to clear the past. So you are saying these steps we need to, and is there like a sequence in which they have to be done, or we can just keep on doing it?
Now it is natural. Like, is there a sequence in the way you eat your food? Starters, then main course, and then dessert. It is natural. It just follows like that. Nobody feels like saying, let's have a dessert and then go to the main course and then complete with the starters. It never happens that way. It is just a natural way. Reflecting, forgiving, accepting, gratitude is just a natural sequence. It is
That's
not
how.
like forced sequence. That is how it is. If you are expressing gratitude without having reflected, forgiven, and accepted, then often you are faking gratitude as a positive attitude and not as a possibility. Like it's a denial of something and say, I'm still grateful. It's like this. I know, but those people were really such jerks. But I'm grateful because of that. I learned so much. It's not like you're genuinely grateful and says, you know what, you contributed something, but in my resentments, I took a different view. But what you contributed made me someone which I'm proud of. And thank you so much. It was your contribution. I'm so humbled by what you contributed. But I lost that because I had resentments and held that. That's why I was so withdrawn. What you gave me was really a contribution. Now that will come only if there has been reflection, forgiveness, and acceptance. Otherwise, it's all positive attitude and all gratitude from positive attitude, which is a fake, which is absolutely fake.
Makes a lot of sense, Victor. Thank you so much for clarifying that. I'm sure our viewers also got that. Thank you for clarifying.
Thanks, Pradeep, for asking. I should say. Now, so this is the belief part. Belief, but belief in self. Remember, I said the line is belief in self. How do you and I relate to the self? How do you and I relate to the self? That is important. And when you see, I saw something that when you see that whole thing, you will realize that do I see myself separate from others or as part of others? Like, like is there something where I discover myself in others? Do I in engagement with people? Am I able to see others as a reflection of myself? Then what you are believing in is about humanity because you see others as self. And then the future that you're creating is the future that humanity wants because you are so deeply connected with people that what you're sharing, what you're believing, what you're creating is now the belief is not in yourself alone, but belief in humanity. And therefore, the creation of that future is what most people will align with for you because they'll believe in you because you believe in themselves and you see them as a reflection of yourself. You discover yourself in others. That is the self that we want to bring forth. Where you realize that, hey, my son is a certain way because of me, and that's what making him. Just because I am always controlling him, he has become such a rebel. If I take away control and bring in listening and understanding, he will have no need to rebel. He is rebelling because he's tired of control. So the rebellion is a function of my control. My continued demand of obedience and submission is bringing out the rebel in him. Now when I believe, when that reflection is resolved for me, now I can see I can believe in him because he has a point, he has a mind of his own. And if I believe in him, then he'll believe in me. It's mutual. Now there is no self which is separate, but it is one, Pradeep. That is the belief in self. You believe by completing and clearing the past. You believe in the self as others as self. That makes it the thing, a belief in self. And
Wow.
then the only thing you do is you want to do a created future because you enjoy the new every day. Every day is a new day, and there is a creation possible. Uh, and that is the creation you and I deserve for being human. Like you and I deserve it for being human. So yeah, the way you're putting it, acknowledge uh, the existing context and its influence, the influence of the past and its command over you or its hold over you. You clear by reflecting, forgiving, accepting, and then having gratitude. And finally, you create a belief in yourself and you discover yourself in others and you see yourself new. You create yourself new, the future is new, and for everyone, there is something in what you are creating because you have a belief not only now in yourself but in humanity as a whole, and you are not resigned and cynical anymore, but you live in possibilities. Who doesn't want to align with the future you are creating if it is a future of possibilities? It is natural for people to align with you. So this is the you might have thought it is a line, but this is an explanation of that whole line or a creation of that line. Believe in yourself, which causes the creation of the future. That's it for me. I mean, I hope I kind of
Wow.
answered your questions.
Yes, you did. Not just mine. I'm sure you answered a lot of our viewers' questions too. And it was a very clear distinction that you gave us in. See, some of these things that you talked about today are not easy to grasp. Especially, a lot of us have had different interpretations or understanding of those things. Like I said, for acceptance, a lot of us confuse that with tolerance. So the way you distinguish those and the way you gave us those four steps, that was really very profound, Victor. I'm sure our viewers got the crux of what you are saying, how we need to clear the past. And then once we believe in ourselves, we understand how we can discover others in ourselves and then go from there on creating a future. That is really profound. And I'm so thankful for you to come, take your time and share your wisdom with our viewers. Thank you very much.
Hey, brother, it's my joy to be with you, brother. Just interacting with you allows me also to kind of start believing more in what is getting created. And the way you bring it up, I sometimes look and say, hey, this is possible. No? Pradeep had this question. This question was not there, but now it's coming in. So this constantly gets created. And that's what I enjoy with you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Victor. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and learn from your unique wisdom and perspectives. Thank you once again. We look forward to having you on our Infinite Possibilities next episode next week. And I'm going to share with our viewers what our next week's topic is going to be. But before that, viewers, please share with us your feedback, your comments, your experience of listening to this conversation, any issues that you want us to address in our upcoming episodes. We look forward to hearing from you. And we'll be here again next week with another episode of Infinite Possibilities with Pradeep Gupta, brought to you by Mana TV International. And our topic for next week's episode is handling failures. Yes, how to deal with failures. That's going to be a very interesting topic, I promise you. So stay tuned. Until then, we'll see you later.